Hello, CrossFit Linchpin. Hope everybody's day is off to a wonderful start. As I film this, it is February 25th, 2020. I can't believe time is flying by. I'm still enjoying my morning coffee. So today's topic got brought back up from a comment on the Linchpin Private Track Facebook page, where a woman asked if I had spoken before about, she remembered some video I had done in like a hotel gym after a workout, and we somehow got on the topic of double unders and why you do or don't have them, and it went down a rabbit hole, of course, as I frequently do. And then somebody said, yes, that has been spoken about before. Pat did a video on that, but it was a video that was done before he started, I started saving them and making them in podcasts and all that. So we have chatted about this before, but we're going to dive back into it. And there's probably like 200 topics that fall into this arena, this category. So we've got a lot more talking to do. But the oversimplification, I've got junk all over my desk because I'm programming the next 4 weeks worth of workouts. I obviously haven't had enough coffee. I'm having a tough time concentrating. So the question, basically what it said was, I made some comment along the lines of, double unders frustrate so many people. But if we oversimplify it, if you have the ability to jump 2 inches off the ground and to spin your wrists with your hands at your side, you should be able to do double unders. There's no physical limitation holding you back from doing double unders. You can jump 2 inches off the ground and move your wrists. So why in the world are they so darn frustrating and annoying to so many people, and what's holding us back? And that got into a small talk about things that we used to discuss at the level 1 seminars, and this stuff's all over the CrossFit Journal. I'm just certainly not creating any of this. This is classic, steeped in old-timey CrossFit tradition, methodology, information. And that is, if you go back to October 1st, 2002, CrossFit Journal article, What is Fitness? Everybody should read it. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it discusses just that, CrossFit's definition of fitness. And there's several models used to arrive at that definition of who may be categorized as fitter than somebody else. And one of them is the 10 general physical skills, which CrossFit did not create. And they say, quite frankly, that we didn't create them, but we liked them. And when this list of 10 general physical skills was first created, it was created as, hey, here are the 10 ways in which the human body can adapt to physical training. These are the 10 different areas that you could improve upon. And CrossFit not only liked that list, but it took it one step further. It said not only are these the 10 areas that you could improve and develop, however, he or she is fittest that is blended most evenly across all 10 of the capacities and isn't overly developed in 1 or 2 at the expense of the other 7 or 8. So they kind of took this well-rounded approach. And in that list of 10 general physical skills, which I used to have to rattle all of these off in their definitions when I lectured all the time. I'm definitely a bit rusty, so I've got the list here for me. But you've got cardiorespiratory endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, speed, coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance. And all of those, if you go to that CrossFit Journal article that I just mentioned, have a wonderful definition on there. If you're like, well, what's the difference between stamina and strength? What's the difference between balance and agility? All have a nice definition, so you can dive into those. Now we would take those 10 and say he or she is fittest that is blended best and most evenly across all of them. And they're not all developed the same. So you've got 4 on the top, which would be endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. And those 4, we used to say they're organic, meaning they're developed and improved through training. You're out there pounding the pavement, you're on the bike, you're lifting weights, you're training. And when you train, those endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility, those improve. And when they do improve, let's say that you wanted to donate your body to science, and before you started training, you were an untrained human, not working out. They took some sort of biopsy of your tissue. They took a tissue sample, and people with 10-pound brains and very high-powered microscopes and advanced degrees looked at your tissue. And then you trained for a year or two, and now you're a trained human being. And after 2 years of training, out pounding the pavement, lifting weights the whole 9 yards, doing pull-ups and burpees, they took another tissue sample, and they compared the two. There would be a difference in the two that would be measurable and observable at the cellular level from when you weren't training, and then the adaptation that took place in your body from the training. So those are developed through training. There's an organic change that takes place. The other four, coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, we said that those are neurological. So the change that takes place is in the nervous system, and that is developed not necessarily through training, in which you can see a change in the tissue there, but through practice. So changes in coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, improvements are made through practice, not necessarily more training. So for example, you don't need a bigger back squat or more pull-ups or to improve your 5K time or any of those things that you would have to do through training to get those pesky double unders. You already have the endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility needed to jump 2 inches off the ground and spin your wrists. Additional training is not needed. What you need to do is take that physical capacity that you already have and through repeated practice, train your central nervous system in the proper sequencing and coordination and firing so that the rope moves at the right time with your wrists and it goes under your feet perfectly, and then you hit the ground and you're up again and it passes under twice. Again, using the strength and flexibility that you already possess, but now you need to develop that coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance. Neurological components improved through practice. And then if you've been following along, we said there was 10 general physical skills, but I just chatted about 4 that were organic and 4 that were neurological, so that leaves 2 off the list. The 2 that were off the list are power and speed, and power and speed, we say, are both. Power and speed are improved both through training and through practice. So, if you want to get those pesky double unders, as cliche as it is, yes, you just have to practice. Practice, practice, practice. And the same can be said for a myriad of movements, but think about the ring muscle-up. Another huge achievement, and rightfully so, in many CrossFitters' journeys. The first time you get yourself up there on the rings and you lock it out and you're screaming and all your friends are high-fiving and everyone's phone's out, it's super cool, it really is. But there's a decent chance that before you got that first ring muscle up, if you have been doing your due diligence and preparing for that ring muscle up how you should be preparing and not just getting up there before you're ready, hoping to throw a violent kip in there, hope for the best, and hopefully, that's not how you should get your first ring muscle up. You should build up those organic components of the strength, the flexibility, etc., etc. So you're working on your ring rows. You're working on your strict pull-ups. You're working on your holds on the rings. You're working on your bench dips, then your bar dips, then your ring dips. Then you're working on getting a strict chest-to-bar pull-up. And then you're lowering the rings and with your legs on the ground doing low-ring transition drills, still with no momentum, just speed, leg assist as needed. And little bit by little bit, you get stronger pull-ups. You pull the bar higher, better, deeper, stronger ring dips. The low-ring muscle-ups, you're using less leg and more upper body. And then that wonderful day comes that you get your ring muscle-up. But here's the thing. There's probably a good chance that if we took that, this is not something that we could do, so it's just a fun discussion. If we took that tissue sample of you on the day that you got your ring muscle up and measured what you had from an organic standpoint, you probably had it the week before, right? You probably had 1 week ago, maybe 2 days ago, your tissue didn't change. 3 days ago, it didn't change. It's been changing. It takes time, right? But the day before, your tissue was probably the same. And maybe you tried the ring muscle up the day before, and you didn't get it. So if all you needed to be was strong enough to get your ring muscle up, why didn't you get it the day before? It's because it wasn't the endurance, stamina, strength, or flexibility. It was that other part, the neurological component, the coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance. So another way to think about it is, okay, great. You've got endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. That's fantastic. It's far better than not having it. But now the important thing of what will you be able to do and to accomplish with your endurance, stamina, and strength and flexibility. What you'll be able to accomplish is largely dictated by your proficiency with coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance. To take those base layers that I just said and now do wonderful things with them, like double unders, like ring muscle ups or bar muscle ups, or a squat clean or a squat snatch or an overhead squat or walking on your hands or beautifully synchronized toes to bar or whatever it happens to be. That neurological component which comes through just practice, removing your ego, embracing scaling, and just practicing something. When that starts to get smooth as butter, now you're really doing something with those organic components. You're really doing something with the endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. And that is because functional movements, they're hard. I spent the overwhelming majority of my life before CrossFit. I've been doing CrossFit now 15 years. But before that, I was just a gym rat like most people. And Monday and Thursday was chest and tri. Tuesday and Friday was back and bis. Wednesday and Saturday was legs and abs. And I'd sprinkle in some cardio on the elliptical of the Stairmaster and thought I'd turn into a beast. And of course, that's not what happened. Most of the movements that I did were either, plop my butt down on a machine. And if you're sitting on a machine, well, the machine's stabilizing you. So there's not a tremendous amount of coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance needed on anything which you're plopping yourself on a machine in a traditional gym setting, or an isolation kind of single joint movement. If I'm sitting on a bench, leaned over, doing a one-arm dumbbell concentration curl, which I did for many years of my life, there's a very low buy-in with regards to technique needed for something like that. And so for many of us that grew up in that classic working out, classic traditional gym setting, we had some decent capacity in the organic components, endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, decent. Although most of us weren't really lifting weights, deadlifting and doing front squats, so we were lacking there as well. But a lot of that world that I came from is almost utterly and completely devoid of the neurological components, devoid of that coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance. And then, if you're following the bouncing ball, if you're not developing both the organic and the neurological components, then what are you not truly maximizing and developing to its utmost? Those two things that were both organic and neurological, right? Power and speed. So if you're not doing the organic side of the house and the neurological side of the house, you are not maximizing your power and speed. So by the very elimination of complicated movement patterns that require you to engage your brain in sequencing and this core to extremity wave of contraction, they're multi-joint in nature. If you're not doing movements like that, you're devoid of the neurological component, and right off the bat, power and speed are taking a hit. And it is what it is. And so what we do with good CrossFit programming is we run the whole gamut. And so you're going to expose yourself to a large number of things that you find frustrating, and they're most likely frustrating from a coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance component. I mean, most people, if you can do an air squat and have some sort of range of motion in your shoulder joint and elbow joint, well, you should have the ability to just knock out a beautiful squat clean, right? But what makes the squat clean so challenging? It's doing everything in the right, seamless, smooth sequence so that you hit all the proper positions, and it's just poetry in motion. And that only comes from time and from practice. And so that's that. We could go down another rabbit hole, but this is probably a long enough video for this. But maybe the rabbit hole, which somebody can remind me inevitably when I'm scatterbrained and I forget, is, like I said, this list of 10 general physical skills CrossFit did not create. The founders of the Dynamax Medicine Ball Company created it. Two people whose Bruce and Jim, their first names, but their last names, Evans and Colley. I think I'm getting that right, escaping me at the moment. They created the list. They created the definitions as well. So what you'll see, if you go to that CrossFit Journal article, is there's a definition for strength. And the definition of strength from the 10 general physical skills that we did not create, that we adopted, that the founders of Dynamax came up with, is strength is the ability of a muscular unit or combination of muscular units to apply force. And that is, this is a rabbit hole we'll go down later, that is and can be a classic exercise physiology definition of strength. However, that doesn't paint the whole picture of what you would like to do with your body in the real world. And so CrossFit has its own definition of strength, and that's that strength is a productive application of force. And that's another rabbit hole. It's a wonderful rabbit hole. We'll have a blast going down that, and maybe we'll do it again. The man across the pond, Carl Steadman. Handstand walking is stupid. Not because it's not worth it, just because I'm awful at it. I understand what you're saying. There is usually a wonderful correlation between movements people like and movements people think are dumb, and usually it has to do with their capacity. And I know that obviously, Carl, you're just joking there. But I will say that there can be a great argument made for that, right? And again, here's another rabbit hole. You guys are always tricking me. There's another rabbit hole we could go down, and maybe we'll just touch the rabbit hole, which is, hey, CrossFit, you guys are always saying that you're preparing for the real world, that you're doing these movements which are universal motor recruitment patterns, and they're found everywhere, and they're unavoidable. Well, if that's the case, I've never seen anybody walking on their hands. So why in the heck are we doing that? That could be a fair point, a sticky point, right? I've also never seen anybody do a squat snatch in real life either. Just for some odd reason, grab something off the ground, rip it into the air, pull themselves under below parallel with their arms extended overhead, stand up, and put their luggage in the overhead bin. I've never seen that either. So you could make a really good case of why you're doing that. That's not found in nature, so that's stupid. And that's why the world is an amazing place. That's why conversations are fantastic. And that's why, as with so many things, yeah, some things are black and white every now and then. But usually the clear picture gets painted when we allow ourselves to have a discussion about nuance and we peel the layers of the onion back one or two times. And there are several. Here's an oversimplification. In general, not all the time, but in general, if you embrace complicated movements that are very demanding of the neurological components, the coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, when it comes time to do something far simpler, life's going to be great for you. Great for you. Conversely, if you only embrace the simple stuff and you say, I'm not going to do this other complicated stuff because it's too hard. Well, when life throws something complicated at you, not only will you fail, but you could advance your ability to do the simple stuff even better by embracing some of the complicated stuff. So, for example, I also have never seen somebody just feel the need to walk on their hands through the grocery store or whatever it happens to be. But trust me when I say this, okay, from spending now literally my life's work invested in CrossFit and functional movements and programming and understanding the methodology and interviewing athletes, and so now it's literally my life's work. I also happen to be married to a woman who went to the games twice as an individual athlete, got a full ride scholarship to the University of Washington as a Division I gymnast, and the mere fact that she was a full ride Division I gymnast, she doesn't consider walking on her hands to be something complicated. As far as she's concerned, that's laughably simple, something she never needs to practice. It's just there. Well, her ability, my wife Emily, to do things that I still find challenging in the gym because of the level of coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, her level, what she considers complicated and what she considers a high level of coordination, is orders of magnitude higher than what I consider. And because of that, when her and I are now doing something like a squat clean, toes to bar, you name it, I mean, she can almost do it with her brain off because she has pushed her threshold for complexity so much higher that now the simple stuff is just that much simpler. Whereas for me, never having been a Division I gymnast, I made the transition from doing, bicep curls to squat cleans. I categorize the squat clean and the toes to bar and the ring muscle up. That is my world of complicated movements, but it's not for her because she came from a much more complicated world. So again, to each their own, and everybody is on a different journey with fitness and starts at a different place, but wherever you are, exposing yourself to what you would consider a little bit outside your comfort zone, appropriately so. Obviously don't compromise your safety, but appropriately push your threshold of complexity. I think there's tremendous benefit for that. Tremendous benefit for that. And that is why we embrace a lot of these movements in CrossFit. So, anyway, that's that. Let's see. One more comment here. Let's see. Jason, got into a discussion like this about double unders and muscle-ups. My colleague made the argument about jumping over two snakes out here in Arizona and moving himself over a wall, being a cop. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, the muscle-up, you could say in its simplest form, is just a great way to surmount an obstacle or an object. So, that's it. Dan, I see you, brother. Miss you also. Hope all is well. And I will talk to everybody later.